Well, folks, it's another episode of the Gary and Mark Show, and I'm Gary.
And I am Mark.
And we're coming to you. We're not live.
We are live,
right?
We are live. And where are we live, Gary?
Well, we're Zooming.
Here we are.
And today we have a special guest. It's not the Gary and Mark Show. It's the Gary and Mark and Larry Show.
And Larry is someone really special. So
yeah, he is our resident meteorologist.
And
the fact that he's my brother, there was no cut. He didn't pull any strings. He earned that job.
He did, and
it was a long and tough job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the most professional thing he's done is get this diploma through us. He has a diploma. Not only is he dean of the school of what? I can't say the word.
Meteorology.
There you go.
Meteorology and astrology.
And astrology.
Yes. Yeah. And I looked up on our website, he's also dean of bottle cap collecting. Did you know we had a program in that?
I let that go. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. We've had people ask about that one program not too long ago. Could they get a degree in that? And the answer was, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get stickers. Larry, have you gotten your stickers for the G&M Podcasting University?
That I have. They are on the top of my dresser right now as we speak.
That's a good enough place to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're not going to put them on your vehicle, you could put them on your elliptical machine.
That's right.
Yeah. That's a great idea. I'll do that.
So Larry lives somewhere in Texas. Is that right?
Yes. I'm in South Central Texas in the town of San Antonio.
Oh.
And I've been a resident of this area for about 28 years now.
I've never been there, but I've heard it's a beautiful city. Isn't that the one that has the waterway through the downtown, or am I making that up?
Yes, no, you're right. That's our river walk. It was prior to the 1930s, just a sewer. And a very alert gentleman came up with the idea of turning it into really one of the top tourist sites in the U.S. It's a lot of fun down there.
So where did the sewer go?
Yeah.
We're not difficult. We just mix it all together and send it down the river.
Just
keeps people from swimming in it, I guess. Then
we try to keep them out of the river walk water anyway. But we clean that out once a year. We drain it and pull out all the hubcaps and so forth and make it a little more livable.
I will point out, Larry was actually born in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though he and I were raised in Kentucky.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right.
He was born in Texas, 1945.
Exactly. I always tell people that I'm Texas born, that my parents kidnapped me and took me to Kentucky, and I escaped and got back as quick as I could.
Well, since you're our dean of the weather program, meteorology program, that was your career. I mean, you are a professional at that, right? You don't just look at the almanac and pick something out.
I didn't really intend to go into that. I was studying mathematics, and I was in the Air Force, and they didn't know what to do with a mathematician. So they sent me to Texas A&M to study meteorology. And in the next 4 semesters, I took every course they had at A&M. And for the next 30 years, I was a meteorologist in the Air Force and the National Weather Service, and I loved it.
Well, based in Texas or based in other places?
I was in Texas. I was in New Mexico. I did Air Force tours in Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama. And it was a lot of fun.
Gosh, it makes us feel small, Gary.
Yeah, and also he retired from his Air Force. He's a colonel.
Oh my goodness,
Lieutenant colonel.
I know, a bird colonel or what that.
No, not a bird.
That's Army.
The oak leaf. Yeah,
Oh,
oak leaf.
Oakley. Okay.
Yeah.
So were you then, you must have been Vietnam era.
I was Vietnam era. I got orders to go to Nam a week after my girlfriend and I decided to get married, and I canceled everything, including the wedding, and decided to head on out. Had everything packed, ready to go, and they stopped the war. And I had to hold for like 3 weeks, not knowing what was going on. So we got married, went on a honeymoon, came back, and they canceled the orders. So I was going to go to Tan Son Nhut. I was going to be the briefer for the commander of 7th Air Force.
So were you looking?
I'll point out that in his service down there in Laredo, Larry kept the Viet Cong out of South Texas.
You know?
Yeah, we had one very distinguished visitor, a young man who was a tennis player, come down there, my brother. And the first thing I knew, he'd endeared himself to the entire tennis team in Laredo, went down to Monterey, took part in the tournament down there, and we spent the rest of the next few weeks moving tennis players all over South Texas, including Corpus Christi during a flood.
Yeah.
You talking about you, Gary?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I knew you played tennis, but I didn't know you were doing.
Well, I still the doubles match with my partner. If Rafael Carros is still alive and well, I send my apologies. We the first day we played singles and we won our matches, and then that night the Monterey tennis team, which was sponsored by the Carta Blanca Brewery, gave us many cervezas. And so the next day it was with a heavy head playing doubles, and I choked.
I remember the term "22" being passed around, which in Spanish says 22.
Goodness, I hope that doesn't mean 22 cans or bottlefuls.
Yeah. Well, I'll point out that let's see, how old was I then? Like 20. I was like 22.
Yeah.
23. Yeah.
That may have been where the number came up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now it's 2 beers now.
Yeah, that's right. And a nap. 2 beers and a nap.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about beers in just a minute, but I wanted to.
Yes.
Something.
Because he's also our non-alcoholic beer critic. And
that's true. And I want to add something else to his titles if he's interested. You know,
sure.
We have Professor James Moore out in Arizona State. You know, does the Aluminum Man Triathlon. And he took over as dean of our Western branch of the Gary and Mark Podcasting University. So I was thinking maybe Larry could be dean of the Central U.S. branch of the GMPU.
I think that sounds great. Would that double my salary?
Yes, it would.
Yep.
2 times 0 equals 0.
Yeah.
I can do that.
There you go.
There you go. And that you actually equal what we're getting. So
yes.
It works out right. Probably
That's
actually
great.
more because Gary and I have expenses. So
that's right.
Larry comes out ahead. Yeah. All right. We're going to put that. So he's also head of non-alcoholic beer tasting. I think that's a good idea because we've had a beer expert on before, Howard, but we have this new sponsor. And now we're going to talk about beers because Larry has done all the research for us.
Yes.
Why don't you, Gary, tell them about the sponsor first? Who's that company?
Well, the Athletic Brewing Company.
Yep.
Which we bumped into at, I'm sure all our fans know, they've seen all these podcasts and committed them to memory. But out there at DuPont, the guy giving away free non-alcoholic beer. And we were surprised at how good it tasted.
Now, however, in that last episode with the group from camp, I think Charlie was kind of dissing on it, and yet he was drinking Miller Lite or something.
Yeah,
which is terrible. So, but I like the Athletic Brewing brew. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was very tasty. So Larry, he has tried how many different ones now, Larry?
I got on their site and I think I listed something on the order of 15 or 18 different versions that they make if you do enough research. I've only been able to come up with about 6 or 7 in our stores. But I want to say that athletic brewing is being increasingly represented across San Antonio. And I saw one out the other day when I went to the Air Force Base. I saw a 6-pack. So I'm very, very much aware of how that changes. And I agree with you, Mark. I think it's a really good beer. It's probably one of the very best non-alcoholic beers I've tasted.
And if he hadn't told me that, I would have probably thought it had alcohol in it. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah. So is it your top favorites, their stout?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, he's got some in front of us. Okay, let's hold him up
right here. It's the All Out Extra Dark Stout. I think that's the best. And something strange happened to me. I was limited on my beer intake by my cardiologist when my numbers went in the wrong direction to 1 beer a month. And that's when I started checking out non-alcoholics. And of all the non-alcoholics I've had, I'd place that All Out? Yeah, Extra Dark in the top 3.
Wow.
It's that good.
Hold that can up again for our viewers we have.
For our listening and viewing audience, there it is.
Yeah, all out Extra Dark from Athletic Brewing.
It's a stout. And the others are IPAs. I was trying to find out about beer, and I tried a bunch of beers. I loved what the Germans call Märzens. That's their Oktoberfest beers. I love the other German beers that are made, but also got into some IPAs and stouts and porters. And the bad news was the more calories and the more alcohol in it, the better it tasted. I didn't want to find that out. So I was looking for another way to go. I started trying the NAs. And the only other beer I can find that's anywhere as good as this is actually not available in the US. I ran into it when we went to a Rhine cruise, a Danube cruise in Prague, the Czech Republic. And it was Stella Artois, non-alcoholic.
I like Stella alcoholic. I didn't know they had a non-alcoholic.
Great. But the non-alcoholics only sold in Europe and Britain. So cannot find it here. But this is really good. And the IPAs are good too.
So can you have unlimited number of non-alcoholic beers, according to your cardiologist?
No, that's a physical problem because I have one of the same effects with an NA beer as I do a regular beer. It puts me to sleep.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Well, yeah, I don't get bombed or anything. I'm not drunk, but I just really want to take a nap. So I'm usually limited on how many I can put down.
That might just be a function of age.
It might possibly.
I'm only 40 years younger, and I almost always want to take a nap after I've had anything to eat or drink.
Yeah, Gary likes to find a pub or a brew place with a nap room he's always asked about. But,
I think that sounds
ideal. We don't have those around here. It just it usually gets louder the more you've had.
So my issue is going to the bathroom 6 times. So that's my problem. So I'd rather have a nap as a problem. That would be a better problem to have.
I do the bathroom quite frequently, but I usually have an hour or 2 to get ready for that. So the nap is the crisis.
So do you have any other beer cans there on your desk, or is that the only one you brought with you today?
Nope, that's just one at a time. I'm a 1 beer man now.
Well, you have to have your list handy of the ones you ranked?
I do have the list. I'll call it up here.
Yeah.
if I can get it to cooperate.
See what I would have done when I got the news from that doctor, and I would have gone to find another doctor.
Okay.
You know, maybe a German doctor. Okay, there's the
I think that's backwards, isn't it?
So have you tried all those?
Oh, yeah. I've got probably, let's see if I can show you. I probably got 25 that I've tried and listed, and I've got another list of about 15 or 18 that I want to try, but I can't find those beers here yet.
Yeah.
So
later on.
that's his scientific mind working, Gary. We would never.
it's all he's always had that scientific mind.
You know, this is part of being in the military. Especially if you're a shift worker, you've got to have everything ready to go so that when you go to work at midnight, you can get up about an hour before, take a nap, get up an hour before, and in the dark while your kids and wife are asleep, you got to be able to find the socks, the shoes, the right color pants, the right color this, that, and the other, and get to work. And so
That's called staging.
staging. Good
Yeah.
point. Yeah, I'm kind of a left brain guy. It's very boring, according to my wife. She's very right brained. And so, the combination of the two is probably a good idea.
So how long have
Yeah,
y'all
I
been
mean-
married?
Yeah. This is the lady I married prior to Nam.
Yeah. And she's still married to her. And actually, when they got married, coming up, is it October?
Yes.
The next October, it'll be 50 years.
Wow.
Hard to believe. It
Boy.
doesn't seem like it's been anything like that amount of time.
But our father used to always say, it's the first 40 that are the hardest. And then it all kind of mellows out.
Well, I can see that. So Gary, how long have you and Barbara been married?
45, is that right? Yeah, 40.
That sounds right, because you got married about 4 weeks before my first son was born. My son
Yeah.
was born. Yeah, and I left San Antonio to fly to
Yeah.
Philadelphia, and it was 78 degrees that morning in San Antonio. When I arrived in Philadelphia, it was 4 degrees above or below zero. I don't remember,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. And when I came back, it was 100 degrees in San Antonio. That was a heck of a trip.
So I just happened to stumble on I don't know how many greats grandfather, the Hans Eblen from the Netherlands, but I
Yeah.
saw he got married in Middletown, PA, which is just like 5 miles from Media back in the, I guess, 1700s.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, the big group of Eblens, I think, is in North Carolina, isn't it?
Tennessee is where the whole,
Is it Tennessee? Okay.
well, they went there and then they kind of spread from there, sort of like a virus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a few Eblens out in Texas, but not very many. And Gary just shocked me by letting me know that one of the Eblens in Lexington, Kentucky, where I went to school, was actually connected to the bookstore owner I knew very well when I was in school.
Yeah. Tom, wonderful editor. He was a wonderful editor. And I think he still writes. I think his daughter writes for the New York Times now, but yeah.
His
I like
dad
his
was
college-
Bill Eblen, and he was a really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
Had a blast.
Yeah.
So let's go back around to the beer list for just a minute. That long
Sure.
list, were they rated in order of which ones you like the most or just listed?
No, they were all rated in order.
What's at the very bottom is what I want to know. The
Yeah.
bottom three.
Yeah, the really bad ones and the really good ones are easy to rate. The worst were Penn's Best Beer NA. And then
Who's that?
that's third to the worst. Second to the worst is Surreal Chandelier Red IPA.
Mm.
And the worst was Surreal 17 Mile Porter. I figured anything that's a porter or a stout has got to be good.
Yeah.
But there's a good counterexample.
And
That's a good math word.
so your taste, how do you determine whether it's just how it tastes to you, or do you scientifically go through I guess they don't have that gravity marked on non-alcoholic beers, do they? Those numbers they use.
No, they do give you the carbs, and they give you the alcoholic content. And there's another number they put out, IBV.
IBUs or
IBU.
Yeah.
ABV, well, because alcohol by volume, ABV would be 0. Yeah.
So-
It's actually 0.5%. It's
Ah.
not exactly 0, but it's really close. But the first thing I do is take a sip of it, and I'd ask myself, do you want to take another or not? If the answer is not, then that goes down to the bottom of the list. If it's worth trying again, I'll take another shot of it. And if after I have finished it, I'm not sick of it yet, that's what I think is right up at the top.
So go back to your top of your list. Name the top 3 then.
Okay. There is a
Drum roll.
Yeah, well, there we go.
There's an imported beer from Germany, Polliner Weizenradler. It's a NA beer, but it's got lemon in there. Yeah, unusual. It's lemon and a little sweetener, and it's kind of like drinking a mix of beer and iced tea. And sweet.
Well, let me just say, in 2018, I was in Europe, and we were in Munich, and we went to their beer garden, that Polliner beer garden, and we had a family with us of Germans, because we knew them from school where I taught, and they were drinking, at least the 14 or 15-year-old, that Radler something there. So,
yeah, Weizenradler. They make a non-alcoholic and they make an alcoholic version of that.
Hopefully he was on the non-alcoholic version, but they don't care much over there, I'll tell you.
And the next one is the Stella Artois, which you can't get in the States. And number 3 is Athletic Brewing All Out Extra Dark Stout.
Well, I have to tell them, our sponsors, that just makes up there
Athletic
worldwide. So where's the next Athletic Brewing Company beer on your list? How far down?
It's right under that. Number 4 is Athletic Brewing Run Wild IPA, followed by Athletic Brewing Sunset Stroke IPA, followed by Athletic Brewing First Ride Extra Dark with coffee. And that's the other thing I've listed. I've done a study of both decaf and calf coffees, and I've got about 40 top tier coffees. And I drink my coffee, by the way, black with about 3 or 4 ice cubes in it. And that way you can really taste it. I love a bitter, dark coffee.
Now, are you supposed to drink uncaffeinated coffee, or is caffeinated? No.
The cardiologist said whatever coffee you want, but I also have found a couple of really good decaf coffees, only 2, and I've tried about 20 decafs, and I've got a list of about 60 bad coffee.
Now we have a new coffee expert too.
That's right. Yeah. But before the doctor caught me drinking all the beer, I'd done a study, and I think I told Gary I tested 400 beers. So I rated them by 1, level 2, or level 3. Level 3 is not worth buying. Level 2, if you're in a real pinch and you can't find the number 1. Number 1 beers are really good.
So back to the beers a minute. When you go out and buy one, do you buy just one, or do you buy a 6-pack?
If I'm testing a beer, I'd prefer to just buy one, because if they're not very good, I don't have to drink 5 bad beers.
You could cook hot dogs in them.
Give them to Gary for Christmas gift.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Thanks, Mark.
You can give them to me then.
Oh my gosh, one of my chihuahuas just found his way into the room. He left.
Pick him up, put him on camera. People, of course, the poor people are listening on the podcast.
He doesn't like to be in.
No, they're mean. they're mean. They're
Yeah,
just,
we had a miniature poodle. She could be, you pick her up, you don't hold her the right way, she'd whip her mouth around there and take a bite. So
Oh,
she only
Ours-
weighed 16 pounds or so. So
yeah, ours are about 10 pounds and 7 pounds. They're really small,
mhm.
but they're interesting.
Gary, do you still have any cats at home? Or are they all?
oh yeah, we got an 18-year-old cat.
Okay.
Wow.
And now instead of half a can of wet food in the morning, half a can at night, she's in her doddering age. I'll just feed her whenever I mean, she's getting me. Last night I got very little sleep because she wanted to go out, and then she wanted to come in, then she wanted to go out, wanted to come in. It was a full, pretty full moon. So, and pretty mild. I think the low last was high 40s. So
Yeah, it was warm.
but I mean, I'm usually up every 2 hours just to go to the bathroom. If I get a 3-hour block of sleep or a 4-hour block of sleep, it's like I've been to the Bahamas.
Right.
It's a vacation. But between my prostate and the cat,
Well, you could get a cat door, but then the cat would bring in things you don't want the cat.
yeah,
to
you'd get a possum here if you had a cat door or a raccoon. I'm not really ready to have them in the house. I know people have pet possums, but I'm not one.
We had one in the house 3 nights in a row, but it was not a pet. No, that was a raccoon 3 nights in a row.
Have a pet rabbit.
Who
When you're
does?
in Colorado.
Who had a
What?
pet rabbit? Gary had a pet rabbit?
Oh, in Boulder
Yeah.
for a while, yeah, testicles.
I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah,
Well, we're getting near the end of our Zoom free recording. If the show had any sponsors and they could chip in some money, we could go for another 2 minutes, but it says we're down
there
to
you
about
go.
4 minutes left, and I don't want to get called off right in the middle of our
Right.
closing. So
So
let's thank our new dean to a whole bunch of things, but especially our Central United States dean of our GMPU. That's a great thing.
yes.
I appreciate the honor, and this has been a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Well, we'll get you on again. And,
Yeah.
The only question, have you ever been an on-camera weather person? Probably not. You weren't.
Not regularly, but I've been interviewed on stations. I've done live shows on stations and things like that. When I was in the Weather Service, my job was public information officer for the weather and also tornado spotter trainer. And I was doing basically both of those jobs. So I enjoyed being in front of a camera.
Are you glued to the Weather Channel all day long?
No. I do watch them, and they're very good at what they do. Some of those folks I've worked with, and they give great information. I really like that. I just kind of do most of it for myself.
That's the way to end a good career. So Gary, who are our sponsors? Better thank our sponsors, Gary.
We'll thank the Big Whiz Pocket Buddy.
That's appropriate today. Yeah.
Rabbit Island Resorts.
Absolutely.
Just a hair better. We might fly Larry in there sometime for
that should be a perk for being a dean.
Yeah.
Athletic Brewing Company was well represented today with Larry and his expertise. Saluda Outfitters, and you remember that
Big Eddie's Green River Tap Room or Green River Eddie's Big Tap Room.
We're close. We haven't been there in a few months. I think we're close.
Yeah.
LJ Myers and his professional White Dove releases.
White Dove, really, yeah.
That may be it. I can't remember if there's any more or not. Oh, Iron Key Brewing Company.
Iron Key Brewing.
Yeah,
it's a former prison, Larry. That's Iron Key Brewing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They have a good porter. Yeah.
They do. And I just saw in the paper, heard before, not too long ago, that they're going to put a brewery and restaurant in Landrum. Not those people, another one. That's only, Larry, noteworthy because these towns are very small. So the fact they have a brewery at all makes me happy. So
that's great. I'll have to save up some of my free beer months if I get to come out and see you all. so I can have 2 or 3 beers.
There you go.
We won't tell.
Yeah.
3 or 4. We won't tell anybody. We won't tell your cardiologist. All right. Well, been a great show, Larry. Thanks for joining us after all these episodes of watching us. We get to watch you.
Yeah.
I'm Mark. I'm Mark.
I'm Gary. He's Larry.
He's Larry.
He's my big bro.
All right. So I'm
All
going to
right.
say, we'll say, see you in the next episode.
All right.